Hello and welcome. I'm Daniel Che for this Sunday evening's edition of Arirang News. Let's start with the first story. South Korea will announce a new set of sanctions on North Korea sometime this week, not long after the UN adopted a strong sanctions resolution against the regime last week. Collectively, the sanctions are considered the toughest measures that have ever been imposed on Pyongyang. Our Kwon Jang-ho starts us off.
The South Korean government is ready to reveal a new set of sanctions on North Korea in the coming days. A government official told Seoul-based Yonhap News on Sunday that the new measures will include an entry ban on all ships from any country that travel through North Korean waters. Organizations and individuals known to be working with the regime to help develop its weapons program will also be added to existing South Korea and UN blacklists. The official said the UN resolution will be the basis for the new measures, but that more are being considered. One current enterprise that could be affected is the trilateral shipping project involving the two Koreas and Russia. Under the Rajin-Kasan project, coal and other items were shipped from Russia to South Korea via the North Korean port city of Rajin. Earlier on Sunday, South Korea's foreign minister said the government will consult Russia on the matter, but how the new measures will affect the project is unclear. South Korea already has a number of sanctions in place. Most trade with the regime, tourism and private aid were banned in 2010 after the sinking of the South Korean warship Cheonan, which killed 46 people. The joint industrial complex in Kaesong, seen as the last symbol of economic cooperation between the two Koreas, was also closed by the South last month after the North launched a long-range missile. The new expected measures are some of the last steps South Korea can take to pressure North Korea to stop its provocations and give up its nuclear weapons. Kwon Jang-ho, Arirang News.
South Korea and the U.S. will kick off their largest ever annual military exercises on Monday in a warning to North Korea that they are ready for any provocations. The key resolve and full legal exercises will involve 290,000 South Korean and 15,000 U.S. troops and will carry on till the end of April. The allies will conduct the drills with various scenarios in mind, including a preemptive strike on North Korea's nuclear facilities and missile sites. The U.S. has deployed some key military hardware to the peninsula for the exercises, including B-2 stealth bombers and nuclear submarines. The exercises have raised tensions on the peninsula in the past, with North Korea objecting to what it says is a rehearsal for a northward invasion. Seoul and Washington maintains the drills are purely defensive in nature. Now here's the latest on the ongoing family feud over Lotte Group. Shin Dong-bin moved a step closer to gaining complete control of Lotte Group, Korea's fifth largest conglomerate, after shareholders of Tokyo-based Lotte Holdings, which controls South Korea's fifth largest conglomerate, voted to keep the incumbent chairman in his current position. During the meeting in Tokyo, shareholders rejected the request made by his elder brother Shin Dong-ju to dismiss his younger brother from the company's board of directors. And to Dong-ju's claims his father Shin Gyuk-ho handpicked him as his successor, Dong-bin says the 94-year-old founder of the group is unable to make reasonable judgments due to mental health problems. Dong-ju was stripped of his executive titles at three of Lotte's Japanese affiliates in early 2015 and has been struggling to claw his way back up the ladder. A major Korean business lobbying group says it's no surprise the local economy is suffering from a long-term recession as key economic indicators have been giving up warning signs after dropping for years. Kim Ji-yeon has this report.
The Federation of Korean Industries has pointed to several key economic indicators that have triggered a recession in the local economy. Declining exports, which have been on a downward slide for the past 14 months, are one of the key indicators. The unit price of exports fell for the first time in January since it was first recorded in 1988. The Federation says the rate of increase for exports is declining as well. The rate slowed down into the 7% range since 2010 after hovering in the 10% range during the 1980s. On the supply side, production is also slowing. Last year, business activity in the manufacturing sector was lower than it was in the year after the global financial crisis in 2009. On the demand side, the Federation says domestic consumption by private entities and individuals, which accounts for half of Korea's GDP, remains sluggish. The rate of increase for private consumption in Korea was 2% after 2012, less than half of that recorded in 2007. The Federation also points to the shrinking Korean population as a major factor straining the local economy. The number of Koreans aged 15 to 64 is expected to decline for the first time next year. To turn the tide, the Federation says structural reforms and finding new growth engines are vital. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, the Chinese government is planning to raise the sales tax on online purchases next month. Until now, Chinese consumers who have spent less than $77 shopping online haven't had to pay sales tax. But that will change starting April 8th, when China will raise the tax on all purchases from 10% to 12%, regardless of the price of the goods. In response, the Korea Trade Investment Promotion Agency says it will find ways to minimize the damage to local online retailers. And now let's turn to the latest in the race for the White House. Ted Cruz enjoyed a super Saturday by beating Donald Trump in upset victories in Kansas and Maine. Trump also collected 2 wins of his own in Kentucky and Louisiana, but reports say the Texas senator nearly upset Trump in both states as well. In the war for Republican nomination, the scales are still tipped heavily in favor of the real estate mogul, despite a recent plea by former Republican candidate Mitt Romney imploring voters to support anyone but Trump. And the reality show star's bizarre performance in the last Republican debate on Thursday didn't seem to affect his popularity in any way either. On the Democratic side, although Bernie Sanders won caucuses in Kansas and Nebraska, Hillary Clinton's big win in Louisiana solidified the former Secretary of State's lead. A pregnant woman in Brazil who has never traveled abroad may have contracted the Zika virus. According to Brazil's state-run news agency, Sao Paulo health authorities report that a 28-year-old resident of the city who is 30 weeks pregnant has contracted the disease, though they don't yet know how. She has not left Sao Paulo since she found out she was pregnant. An initial ultrasound scan showed her baby is not showing any symptoms of microcephaly, which has been linked to birth defects, but the mother has been hospitalized for further testing. The Sao Paulo government says it is doing all it can to stop the spread of Zika, including preventing mosquitoes from breeding. With some 13,000 refugees stuck on Greece's border with Macedonia, a regional governor in northern Greece has called for a state of emergency to be declared. He says Greece is unable to continue providing the migrants with the support they need. The migrants, most of whom are fleeing conflict in Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan, have entered Greece illegally by sea from Turkey, and they are seeking asylum in other EU states to the north. But many have gotten stranded around the Idomeni border crossing and are now living in flimsy tents. The governor also called on Macedonia to open its borders immediately as thousands of new migrants are registered in Greece daily. The EU plans to allocate some $325 million to help EU states deal with the refugee situation and will hold a summit with Turkey in Brussels on Monday over the matter. Public interest has been growing in Korea over more effective use of unmanned aerial vehicles or drones. The devices are being eyed for various capabilities beyond recreational use. Oh Si-young reports on how the government is even looking at them as the future of emergency response systems.
Many organizations and large businesses are taking note of the high-flying commercial potential. In the past, drones were only used in niche markets, such as the military. However, with the latest technological developments, their potential in the business industry is widely being acknowledged. The South Korean government is performing various kinds of test operations to make use of the drones in various industries. It started off by using the vehicle as a means to detect and extinguish early-stage forest fires. It takes a video of the scene of the accident, sprays extinguishers on the area, and even drops relief supplies to victims.
Through a reconnaissance flight, we can detect the location of a forest fire. We enter the coordinates in a drone, which flies to the area. It could efficiently extinguish a fire even in inaccessible remote areas.
The government has already designated 5 areas in the country, including Jeonju, Busan and Daegu as drone flying zones, after considering their regional characteristics and benefits. It plans to develop the use of these drones for the next 2 years and make it possible to make use of them in real situations from 2020. Oh Si-young, Arirang News.
Now it's time for a look at the weather before we let you go. The yellow dust advisories issued earlier today have been lifted with the air quality being improved. But experts say people in Korea should still wear a mask in the coming days, as there will still be some level of yellow dust hanging around through early next week. Experts also advise that people avoid leaving their windows open as well and try to stay indoors if they can. On Monday, Seoul will start out the day at 3 degrees Celsius. Daejeon will be at 4 and Busan will be at 9. And the mercury will then climb to 16 in Seoul, 19 in Daejeon, and 17 in Busan. Well, that's Korea for you. It's time to check out the weather conditions in your neck of the woods and around the world. That's all from us for now. We do have more coming up at 10 p.m. Korea time, so do join us then. Thanks for watching.